This video is a critique, which is considered... No, you know what? Fuck it. It didn't work the last time with these fucking people. It won't work this time. Let's just start the video. Ladies and gentlemen, I have great news. I'm officially done with my therapy. My therapist recommended that in order to counteract the damage that my top 10 worst SpongeBob episodes list did, I need to look at the best episodes of SpongeBob. Now I'm wondering why I spent $500 an hour for the last month, only to figure out something I probably could have figured out on my own. Anyway, I decided to take a look at the top 10 best pre-movie SpongeBob episodes, because those were truly the best seasons of SpongeBob. Now, I know there are great episodes in the modern era SpongeBob's too, but I'm going to focus on these ones first, because, well, pre-movie SpongeBob was a fucking masterpiece of a series. Even if you took away all the bad episodes in modern SpongeBob, the ones that are left don't hold a candle to these episodes. And also, the same rules are going to apply to this list as the ones in my last list. So, special episodes like Christmas Who, Party Pooper Pants, Scaredy Pants, and The Sponge Who Could Fly don't qualify for this list. Also, I need to make this clear to you guys. I know I'm going to leave a few classics off this list, and there's a reason for that. I have a soft spot for episodes I think are underrated. Like, people love the episodes, but they don't consider them the best. So there is going to be a few episodes that may shock you that I'm putting on. And a few episodes I'm leaving off that might shock you as well. But if I only stuck to the classics and put them in the most obvious of places, I'd have the most predictable, clearly pandering top 10 list ever. So I apologize in advance if I leave any of your favorites off this list. And if you still aren't happy, remember, I just got out of therapy, so what the hell do I know? Now, let's get this list started. This is the top 10 best pre-movie SpongeBob episodes. Number 10. The algae's always greener. In this episode, after another failed attempt to steal the Krabby Patty's secret formula, Plankton ends up feeling incredibly sick of his current life and wishes to switch places with Mr. Krabs. And Karen recommends he use a machine he designed to switch lives with other people to switch lives with Mr. Krabs.
What a brilliant idea! Your parents must have been like part computer or something.
Okay, that was kind of a weak joke. But other than that, this episode is a fucking laugh riot. Plankton ends up switching lives with Mr. Krabs and becomes the manager of the Krusty Krab. And with everything seemingly going great, Plankton ends up seeing all the downsides to being Mr. Krabs.
What? It's just an ordinary Krabby. Oh my goodness!
Soiled it!
I command you to stop that.
Daddy!
Oh god, it's Pearl! Hide, Plankton! She's gonna eat you!
Just tell Daddy what you want!
Daddy!
He's very busy!
Oh yeah, this was before the phobia that made no sense. Anyway, while dealing with SpongeBob screaming like an idiot and Pearl bitching him out, Mr. Krabs shows up to steal a Krabby Patty.
Good grief, he's naked!
That's a classic joke right there. SpongeBob stops Mr. Krabs by clothing him with the bra. And Plankton decides he can't deal with this life and goes back to being Plankton.
Holographic meatloaf? My favorite!
This episode not only has great humor, but it's got a nice, subtle message that basically says that someone's lives may not be as glamorous to live as many people would like to believe. Maybe someone should teach that lesson to TMZ. Well now, let's move on. Number 9. Pranks-a-Lot. Finally, a prank video we can all enjoy. In this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick buy invisible spray from a joke shop, and they come up with a plan that's actually pretty damn funny in of itself.
I know! We'll go spray the park bench and then sit on it. And when people walk by, we'll be floating in midair.
They're floating in midair!
How do they do that?
But this doesn't happen as they end up spraying each other and both become invisible, which results in everyone thinking that they're ghosts.
Ghosts!
Hey, I'm no ghost! Oh, the nerve of that guy and his driving eyeballs.
Which they decide to use in order to pull off an even better prank than they originally planned.
It is ghosts!
I mean, this kind of humor is just beautiful, because technically they're not hurting anyone, at least not deliberately, and it's actually kind of fun to see them use their invisibility to their advantage like that.
Since when did I acquire all these portraits of Patrick?
The last person they need to scare, however, is Mr. Krabs. And they go fucking overboard in the best way possible, scaring him.
You can't escape, Krabs. We've glued the door shut.
Nice try, Krabs, but we replaced all the glass with rubber!
However, when they threaten to burn a dollar bill, Mr. Krabs throws water on them and they are revealed. And Mr. Krabs turns the tables on them by publicly humiliating them. And again, it's deserved because, yeah, they were just having fun and not hurting anyone, but they were scaring the shit out of everyone. Oh god, literally! So yeah, this episode is fun. It's just so entertaining, so enjoyable, so full of great writing, and everything in this episode is used to its fullest advantage and in the best way possible. A straight up phenomenal episode.
Patrick! We should have bought the whoopee cushion!
Number 8. Graveyard Shift. Personally, I was really torn against whether I'd put Graveyard Shift or Nasty Patty on this list. I mean, I find Nasty Patty more hilarious.
Something ain't quite right.
What do you mean, Mr. Krabs?
His head's sticking out!
Sorry, Mr. Krabs. I thought he might need some air.
They don't need air where he's going.
But Graveyard Shift's atmosphere is so much more engaging to me, and it really just keeps picking up steam as the episode goes on. In this episode, Mr. Krabs decides to keep the restaurant open for 24 hours. Yeah, a plot point they would later end up recycling. But in this episode, Squidward, annoyed at how carefree SpongeBob is about working 24 hours a day, decides to use SpongeBob's fear of the dark against him, and tells him this kind of chilling, but still kind of funny story about a man called the Hash-Slinging Slasher.
It happened.
He forgot the secret sauce?
No.
He didn't wash his hands?
No.
Irregular portions?
No! He cut off his own hand by mistake.
You mean like this?
Well, Squidward ends up believing his own story as well, as everything he tells in the story ends up happening.
There was the lights, and the phone, and the walls will ooze green slime. Oh, wait, they always do that.
I mean, I think it's kind of obvious that a serial killer isn't going to just suddenly appear and kill them, but you do feel a sense of actual concern for them once all these events unfold. I mean, it feels almost like a legitimate thriller. In fact, it's one of the closest Nickelodeon episodes I've ever seen that almost managed to perfectly capture how a thriller is supposed to make you feel. It's almost like watching a horror story unfold before your eyes. I never thought I'd say this, but this might be one SpongeBob episode you shouldn't watch in the dark.
No matter what I've said, I've always sort of liked you.
Squidward, I used your clarinet to unclog my toilet.
Huh?
Number 7. Rock Bottom. When SpongeBob and Patrick end up on the wrong bus while leaving Glove World, they end up in a town called Rock Bottom. Patrick is scared of being in Rock Bottom because of how bizarre and different it is.
Look! I can't even tell the bathrooms apart!
Wait, what was that?
Look! I can't even tell the bathrooms apart!
I don't have a joke about that right now. SpongeBob tells Patrick to wait for a bus, but the bus comes while SpongeBob is looking for some help and leaves him stranded in Rock Bottom.
I guess Grandpa SquarePants was right. Don't run for a bus. Especially one that's going up at a 90-degree angle.
That's a fucking hilarious joke. SpongeBob ends up waiting for the next bus.
I'll just wait for the next bus.
No, I don't want to think about that episode. Well, for some reason, SpongeBob keeps missing every single bus that comes near him.
Barnacles!
Jeez, who gave these drivers bus licenses? And after having enough, he ends up wanting to talk to someone at the bus station.
I can't understand your accent.
Next bus to Bikini Bottom.
That is just the most bizarre thing. And I'll admit, I feel somewhat bad for SpongeBob that he's stranded in another city, because that's gotta be horrifying and absolutely nothing is going his way. But watching how annoyed he's getting and how frustrated he's getting, it's just really hilarious. And it's honestly so much easier to laugh when he does get home safely.
Don't worry, SpongeBob, I'm coming back for you.
Oh, you gotta give it to him, though. He really was as good of a friend as an idiot could be in these earlier episodes.
I mean, look at the way he's dressed. Only somebody with holes drilled in their head would wear that stuff. And how about the shape? I mean, I've heard of barrel-chested, but never box-chested.
Okay, in most of these earlier episodes. This episode is a bizarre, all over the place, absolutely incredible episode. Its bizarre humor is just top-notch, and it just shows how much of a variety SpongeBob can have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Number 6. Suds. In this episode, SpongeBob falls asleep with his refrigerator open and ends up getting the suds, a sponge's version of the common cold. SpongeBob tries hard to last through his workday, but Mr. Krabs sends him home early.
All right, SpongeBob, you're too sick to work. Go home and get some rest.
Aw, Mr. Krabs, you're such a caring person. What the fuck happened to you?
Really? He's a mess.
SpongeBob asks Sandy if she can take him to the doctor's, but Patrick talks him out of it because the doctor's office is a horrible place.
Yes! It's a device so sinister, so icy cold when it touches your bare flesh, it...
Patrick tries to cure SpongeBob by plugging up his holes, which causes SpongeBob to slowly build up as a result. But since no bubbles are coming out, he believes Patrick's treatment is working.
Thanks, Dr. Patrick.
And they said I'd never make anything out of myself.
Now, what's really interesting about this episode is that it seems to be talking about how harmful self-medicating can be. Like, SpongeBob believes he's actually getting better because some of the obvious symptoms are not there anymore. But in actuality, he's getting worse. And this is clear to anyone on the outside, but not to SpongeBob. And that's a very well done way to discuss something like this, since self-medicating is actually a pretty big issue for a lot of people who don't want to see a doctor, and as a result, they unknowingly make themselves worse. When Sandy comes to pick him up and take him to an actual doctor, her and Patrick have one of the funniest back and forth matches I've ever seen.
I'll save you!
Better, guys.
This ends with SpongeBob rolling into the Krusty Krab and destroying it before finally going to see a doctor.
Woo, yeah! Yeah! Woo, yeah! I feel as good as new. I love the doctor.
This episode really does a good job highlighting how much more helpful it is to see a professional that knows what they're doing. And I think the way it chose to talk about this subject was not only funny and entertaining, but it's very mature and kind of subtle. In fact, this might be one of the most mature episodes in all of SpongeBob. And it's without a doubt one of the best.
Big, we have a special treatment for you.
Wait! This doesn't seem right!
Number 5. Chocolate with nuts. Man, this is one of the most entertaining episodes of SpongeBob ever. I mean, when an episode opens as fucking incredibly out there, yet still hilarious as this, you know you're in for a good episode. That's one of the most out-of-the-box, or out-of-the-mailbox, jokes I've ever seen. Alright, I apologize. I'll just let the episode make the jokes. Now, this episode focuses around SpongeBob and Patrick wanting to become entrepreneurs. So they decide to go around selling chocolate bars. And my god, what these two go through just trying to sell chocolate is so fucking insane and so goddamn hilarious.
Chocolate! Chocolate! Chocolate!
This guy is just awesome. Whoever voiced this guy has the best scream ever.
Chocolate!
It's damn near impossible to not laugh at this guy. There's another guy who's probably the best scam artist ever that keeps scamming SpongeBob and Patrick out of their cash.
Say, weren't you the same guy who sold us these candy bar bags?
I don't recall.
And of course, there's these two.
They're selling chocolate!
That's selling chocolate.
Yeah!
Chocolate. I remember when they first invented chocolate. Sweet, sweet chocolate. I always hated it.
Wait, so you're telling me you actually did find a way to make a disturbing looking image hilarious as fuck? Well, why didn't anyone tell the writers to face freeze this? You know, it's not too often that you see an episode where the one-time characters are almost, if not as, funny as the main characters.
Hello?
I love you.
I think you laid it on a teensy bit thick there, old pal.
There's also a great scene where SpongeBob and Patrick resort to lying about their chocolate in order to sell more. And the lies are so creative and perfectly executed.
They'll make you sound smart.
I'll take 20!
It'll keep your face from getting any uglier. Just in time.
I mean, there's a reason this episode is a classic. There are multiple things that you're going to remember from this episode that are just so original and well done. So it's probably the most memorable episode of SpongeBob. How could I not put this in the top 5?
So, how long have you two ladies known each other?
Number 4. Pizza delivery. This one is a classic. It's always making an appearance on top 10 lists, and it deserves it. See, it really hurts me to see how badly SpongeBob tortures Squidward in the modern episodes, because these two were as good of a duo as Brian and Stewie, and this episode shows why they were such a good duo. In this episode, someone calls the Krusty Krab to order a pizza.
We don't deliver!
We don't deliver, but you do.
Squidward doesn't want to drive and tells SpongeBob to drive. How smart of you, Squidward. And SpongeBob, of course, burns all the boat's gas driving backwards, stranding them in the middle of nowhere.
We're in the middle of nowhere!
And you know what else? I think the pizza's getting cold.
I really love seeing these two on screen together. SpongeBob is just so dedicated to getting the pizza delivered, while Squidward really just couldn't give a shit.
Who cares about the customer?
I do!
Well, I don't!
Squidward.
And let this be a lesson to the writers of the current episodes of SpongeBob. If you're going to torture Squidward, you gotta make him deserving of it. In this episode, they get lost because Squidward was too lazy to drive. They get stranded because Squidward kicks the boat. And they get even more lost because Squidward doesn't want to listen to SpongeBob when SpongeBob suggests taking directions from algae.
You think that we should go that way?
Yep.
Well, then I'm going this way.
Huh?
Trust me, I know where I'm going.
Okay, well, I can't fault him for any of this, but he is still bringing the misery onto himself as opposed to being made miserable just because he's Squidward. Also, if you're going to have SpongeBob annoy him, you got to make it completely tamed and innocent. Instead of SpongeBob harassing or hurting Squidward, SpongeBob is annoying him by being too dedicated to getting the job done. That's not SpongeBob's fault, it's just something he's doing that's totally understandable that just happens to annoy Squidward. That's what makes it funny.
Krusty Krab, pizza is the pizza, yeah, for you and
when SpongeBob and Squidward do end up getting the pizza delivered, this asshole doesn't want to pay for it because they didn't get him a drink that he didn't even order, causing SpongeBob to cry and Squidward to have one of his most badass moments.
Another one? Look, I told your little friend I ain't paying for that!
Well, this one's on the...
This episode seems to be the one that encompasses some of the best traits of SpongeBob, and it's an episode that will never wear out its welcome.
Did he change his mind?
He sure did. Ate the whole thing in one bite.
You're fucking awesome. You are fucking awesome. You're fucking awesome. You are fucking awesome.
Number 3. No Weenies Allowed. Personally, I've always had a huge amount of love for this episode. I enjoy the plot, I enjoy the crazy directions it goes to, I enjoy the side characters. It's just a very enjoyable episode. In this episode, SpongeBob tries to sneak up on Sandy at the beach by karate chopping her, and when she counters it, it leads to one of the funniest karate matches these two have had.
Way to go, buddy. It took us 3 days to make that potato salad. 3 days!
And it ends with them ending up in a tough guy club called the Salty Spittoon. Sandy gets in pretty easily by doing this.
How tough am I?
Wow.
And SpongeBob tries to get in by opening a bottle of ketchup. Now that's typical SpongeBob right there. SpongeBob is of course turned away and tries so many different ways to get in, like wearing a wig to make him look tough, pretending to be a tough guy's tattoo. Yeah, there's multiple tattoo jokes in this episode. And even challenging the bouncer named Reg to a fight before Patrick offers to let SpongeBob beat him up so he can look tough enough to get in. And it's so phenomenally done. I mean, one, Patrick came up with the idea, and it's a pretty damn good idea as well. And he does this the whole time.
No, please, have mercy!
That is hilarious on so many levels. And it of course works, and SpongeBob's allowed to go in, only to slip on an ice cube and get hurt. Again, that's typical SpongeBob.
What happened?
I slipped on an ice cube and got covered in boo-boos.
I just love this episode. It's so entertaining, it's so engaging, it's so fucking hilarious. It's honestly kind of underrated in my opinion. There's just so many great small jokes in it. Reg is just a phenomenal one-time character. The fucking muscle men that come in when SpongeBob is waiting in line are so creative. And it's even got this scene.
Hey, I was in front of you. No, you weren't. Are you calling me a liar? I ain't calling you for dinner.
That's one of my all-time favorite lines from SpongeBob. No, you know what? It is my favorite line. And the fight itself is hilarious. What more can I say? It's a wonderful episode, and I can't help but enjoy it. Number 2. Band Geeks. This is without a doubt the most beloved episode of SpongeBob. I mean, you look at any top 10 list of SpongeBob, and if this one isn't number 1, it's more than likely going to be in the top 3. And yeah, I'm no different with this episode. It's just flawless. The episode focuses around Squidward putting a band together to play the Bubble Bowl in order to show up his arch rival Squilliam. In fact, I'm pretty sure this was Squilliam's first episode appearance.
Sounds as though you've got a dying animal to attend to, eh, old chum?
Squidward puts the band together by posting flyers all over Bikini Bottom, and practically the whole town shows up to be a part of this band. As expected, they all stink because none of them have any musical experience whatsoever, leading to some really hilarious mishaps.
Flag twirlers, let's move! Come on, move!
Humor like that flows so well. It's really impressive how much band-centered humor there is that is so creative and well thought out.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
No, Patrick, mayonnaise is not an instrument.
Well, on the night before the Bubble Bowl, no one has improved, and a massive fight ensues, resulting in Squidward giving up and leaving dejected. SpongeBob finds a really hilarious way to convince everyone to improve for Squidward, and then probably the most memorable scene from SpongeBob happens.
It's the thrill of one more kill, the last one to fall.
This whole scene is just perfect. The characters look hilarious, yet badass playing their instruments. The song is fucking kick-ass. I mean, just hearing that voice coming out of SpongeBob is humorous in of itself. But the best part is how into it Squidward gets. It's just so satisfying. Like, it leaves you feeling so good for him. And of course, Squilliam fainting, I mean, that just caps it off. Kind of like Futurama's Jurassic Bark, I think a big reason everyone favors this episode comes down to the ending. And like I said, it is a very well done ending. Though, I do find it very ironic that they're able to accomplish all of this after Squidward quits. But whatever, that doesn't take anything away from this episode. It's still one of the best, and it still holds up very well, even today. I mean, if you do find yourself saddened after watching One Course Meal of Pal for Gary or Pet Sitter Pats, this will be the best episode to remind you why you like SpongeBob to begin with. Now, this is normally the part where I do honorable mentions, but instead, I thought I'd show you the episodes I'd rank 11 through 20. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering which episode could possibly top Pizza Delivery, Chocolate with Nuts, and especially Band Geeks. Well, I went with the one I found to be the most relatable, most entertaining, and most hilarious of all the SpongeBob pre-movie episodes. Number 1. Sailor Mouth. I'm sorry, but going into this list, I knew I was going to make this my number 1 episode. I mean, even as a kid, I always favored this one over Band Geeks and Pizza Delivery. Not just because it's humorous, but because it's relatable to everyone. The episode focused around SpongeBob reading dumpster writing and learning a bad word as a result.
Krabs is,
Do you kiss your mother with that mouth?
well, sometimes, but not recently.
Patrick tells SpongeBob it's a fancy word, and the two go around saying it. And it's just, my God, is it fucking hilarious.
Attention customers, today's special is a Krabby Patty served in a greasy sauce and grilled to perfection.
Just seeing the reactions of these people perfectly sums up how people react when they hear someone throwing bad words around in a public setting like that. I know the Powerpuff Girls did an episode similar to this, as did Tiny Toons. I mean, hell, they had a character who did this on a daily basis. But this episode captured how naive and carefree kids can be with these words. Mr. Krabs is of course furious at them and tells them it's a bad word, which makes them feel horrible. Now here's what I mean by it being relatable. I believe every single person, a kid, a teenager, an adult, an elder, we can all watch this episode and remember the time we first said a bad word as children and got in huge trouble. I mean, when you're a kid and you don't know any better, getting in trouble for this is not only confusing to you, but it's frightening.
We were only using our sentence enhancers.
Yeah, it's fancy talk.
There ain't nothing fancy about that word.
You mean...
Yes, that one.
It's almost impossible to watch two characters who are practically children go through this and not fucking laugh because you're remembering reacting just like them when you found out you were saying bad words. Anyway, SpongeBob ends up letting the words slip out while playing a board game with Patrick. And Patrick says it when going to tell on SpongeBob. And both of them tell Mr. Krabs like this.
He said...
Just straight to the point, not even trying to sugarcoat it anymore. And Mr. Krabs punishes them by making them paint the Krusty Krab, when he ends up hitting his foot on a rock and starts saying every swear word in the book. And then the clincher happens when SpongeBob and Patrick go to tell Mr. Krabs' mother on him.
Well, hello there. Mama Crab, he said,
This is what did it for me. This right here still makes me laugh as hard as I did the first time I saw it. Just these two ratting out Mr. Krabs by simultaneously saying every swear word ever in front of an old fucking lady, and then SpongeBob ending it by saying,
I have never heard in my days.
And then she faints. It's without a doubt the funniest, most entertaining, most enjoyable, and most watchable episode of SpongeBob. And it's one of my favorite cartoon episodes ever.
My foot!
Mother!
What? It's Old Man Jenkins and his jalopy.
And the same goes for all these episodes on this list. SpongeBob not only has the ability to be bad in so many different ways, it could be great in so many different ways. Even though the show has had some horrible seasons, these seasons not only stand out as the greatest of the series, but they are one of the greatest first 3 seasons of any animated show ever. And I will always enjoy watching these episodes.